Hi Disa, the topic I'll be covering in my presentation is multi-age grouping by exploring both sides of the argument in an attempt to determine whether multi-age grouping has a positive or negative effect on the development of the children placed within the system. Multi-age grouping is a practice by which children of different ages are placed within one larger overarching group. This system is heavily utilised within regional and rural areas where population numbers are smaller, because without it they just wouldn't be able to hold organised team-based sporting competitions or form proper classes in schools, as the numbers just wouldn't be viable. This system, however, is not only used in smaller population groups, it is also implemented in full contact sports such as rugby league when making up teams in younger age groups. Because of health and safety concerns within these sports, it's far more advantageous to place children in groups based on their size and physical maturity rather than age alone. With this system comes both advantages and disadvantages, which is the cause of this system receiving increasing attention and scrutiny over the past 50 years. The potential advantages associated with multi-age grouping include increasing self-confidence, independence, responsibility, cooperation with others, social skills, and dependability. In 2007, Maureen Neilhard published a paper in the Socio-Affective Impact on Acceleration and Ability Grouping of Gifted Children Quarterly, in which results gave back into these series, demonstrating that multi-age grouping allows for a large increase in maturity levels due to increased levels of tolerance and a better overall ability to deal with others of different ages, backgrounds, socioeconomic status, and maturity. This is brought about by the increased exposure to people outside what they would consider the norm. With these advantages, however, come disadvantages. If grouping is done solely based on size, ability, or skill with little to no consideration to the age, this can bring forward negative effects on the children in question. With the studies performed by Penn and Albury, entitled Multi-Age Grouping Perspectives, as well as Kojima, Jamison, and Stagger's paper, Multi-Age Grouping Paradigm for Youth Swimmers, both discovering that children had a greater propensity to develop a lack of interest due to a fear of competing against both older and more physically and mentally mature children when placed within these multi-age groups. The negative effects expressed in the children can also work in a reversed manner, as demonstrated by the journal article Who Gets Caught in the Maturity Gap, published by Galambos et al., which identified that children who spend extended periods of time around older males displayed significantly higher levels of pseudo-maturity in what can only be assumed is a coping mechanism to deal with the discrepancy in maturity levels. Not only does multi-age grouping affect the children involved, it also places an extra load of external stress onto any teachers or coaching staff who are required to look after said groups, as explained in the article in the Education Digest written by Tice and Terence, in which it emphasises that teachers and coaches are finding it much harder to keep the children focused and the information relevant to everyone as compared to regularly structured age groups, due to the fact that children of different ages are at different levels of both mental and emotional maturity. So, in summation, we can observe that it is in fact not a clear-cut case of whether multi-age grouping is beneficial or not for developing children, and are instead forced to conclude that the results are extremely individualised, as some children will rise to meet the challenges placed in front of them, or as the case may be, some children will become overwhelmed by the magnitude of challenges and changes they are confronted with. This concludes my presentation on the multi-age grouping system. Thank you very much for listening.